The crisp fall breeze sliced through Willow Creek, Kansas, carrying the faint smell of harvested cornfields and distant rain. Emily Carter stood at the window of her old farmhouse, her fingers gripping the faded curtain as a familiar truck kicked up dust on the gravel road leading to her door. At 48, she was a widow running a small bed and breakfast that barely paid the bills, her life a quiet routine since her husband passed a decade ago. But the man stepping out of that truck wasn't the scrawny kid she'd known. Luke Dawson, now 30, broad and weathered from years on oil rigs down south, had been like a second son to her, sleeping on her couch when his father's temper flared, sharing meals with her boy, Tyler. He'd left 8 years back, chasing work with Tyler, but something in his stride told her this visit brought bad news. Her pulse quickened. Why did her skin tingle at the sight of him, like she was young again? Luke's boots thudded on the porch, and he knocked firmly. Emily smoothed her simple blouse, aware of the gray streaks in her chestnut hair and the lines around her hazel eyes. When she opened the door, time froze. The boy was gone. In his place stood a man, stubbled jaw, sun-kissed arms straining his flannel shirt, eyes hiding storms. "Emily," he said, his voice deeper, rough from dust and long nights. I need to talk about Tyler." The world spun. She ushered him inside, the house empty now that tourist season had ended. In the kitchen, where they'd laughed over homemade pie as kids, she poured coffee with shaking hands. "Is he okay?" Luke's face crumpled. "He's gone, Emily. Accident on the rig in Oklahoma. Explosion. He saved 2 guys, but—" She staggered, clutching the table. Luke caught her, his arms strong around her waist. Grief crashed like a wave, but beneath it, his warmth stirred something forbidden. "Why him? Why now?" For days, Emily holed up in Tyler's old room, surrounded by his baseball cards, faded posters, and letters she'd sent him. The scent of him lingered, oil and fresh hay. Luke stayed, fixing the leaky roof, mowing the overgrown lawn, bringing trays of food she barely touched. His presence was a silent anchor in her storm. One evening, as dusk fell, she found Tyler's letters to her, tucked in a shoebox. "I taught him to be brave," she whispered to the empty air. Luke appeared in the doorway, his shadow long. They sat at the table, sharing coffee from Tyler's mug. When she leaned on his shoulder, exhaustion giving way to a spark of life, guilt twisted her gut. Was it betrayal to feel alive in his arms when her son was dead? Luke lingered, helping with chores that turned intimate. She'd catch his gaze lingering as she stretched for a high shelf, his body close enough to feel his heat. "Remember when Tyler bet me to sneak into old Mr. Harlan's barn?" she said one night, trying to lighten the air. Luke chuckled, but his eyes darkened. "I wasn't mad about getting caught. I was jealous that Tyler called you Mom, and I couldn't." The confession hung heavy. "Luke, that's not. We can't. I know it's wrong," he admitted, voice low. "But I've seen you as more than that since I was 18, at the county fair in that blue sundress. It wasn't kid stuff." Heat flooded her cheeks. She should have sent him away, but his touch on her arm ignited years of loneliness. That night, she watched from her window as he chopped wood shirtless under the moon, muscles flexing, sweat glistening. He was no boy, a hardened man, and he wanted her. Their eyes met. He strode inside, up the stairs, knocking softly. "Can't sleep," he murmured, entering in just jeans. "Neither can I." The air crackled. "This is insane." "Yes." He closed the distance. "You're old enough to be." "Don't say it." His fingers traced her nightgown, sending shivers. She gasped as he cupped her face. "Tell me to leave." But she pulled him closer, their lips crashing in desperate fire. Hands roamed, bodies pressing, until hoofbeats no, truck engines roared outside. Headlights pierced the dark. "Damn," Luke hissed, peering out. Sheriff Harlan, and a couple of others. Emily's blood chilled. Mrs. Wilkins, the town gossip, and Pastor Reynolds, no doubt. She threw on a robe as pounding shook the door. "Open up, Mrs. Carter," Sheriff Harlan bellowed. Luke stood firm beside her. They faced the trio on the porch. Harlan stern, Wilkins sneering, Reynolds pious. "It's shameful," Wilkins spat. "A woman your age with a man young enough to be your kid." "He's not my kid," Emily said steadily. "Might as well be," Wilkins retorted. "Raise him like one now. This? Disgusting." Luke tensed. "Watch your mouth." Reynolds intervened. "Emily, grief's clouding your judgment. He's exploiting you." "Nobody's exploiting anyone," Luke growled. Wilkins laughed. "Exploiting? She's tarnishing her dead son's memory." Luke lunged, fist flying. It took Harlan and Reynolds to restrain him. "Don't drag Tyler into this. He'd want her happy." Harlan warned, "Best you leave town, son." "No," Emily declared, grabbing Luke's hand. "This is my home. He's staying." The silence was electric. They defied the town now, what? Word spread like wildfire through Willow Creek. By morning, her B&B was deserted, guests fleeing. The diner refused service. The grocer ignored her. That night, Luke headed to the Rusty Nail Bar for supplies, but Emily knew better was spoiling for a fight. She heard the chaos from afar. Yells, shattering glass. Rushing in, she saw Luke facing 3 locals, bloodied but unbowed. "Come on, who's next calling her names?" he taunted. One charged. Luke felled him with a hook. Another swung a bottle. Luke dodged, cracking ribs. The third backed off. "This ain't right, a cougar and her cub." Luke roared. "She's the woman I love. Deal with it or face me." Harlan burst in, gun drawn. "Enough." But the instigator sneered. "Love? More like lust with the town widow." Luke slammed him against the bar, choking. "One more word." He released at Emily's plea, addressing the crowd. "You hypocrites cheat on spouses, dodge taxes, but judge her for happiness? I'm a grown man, loving a woman your problem, not ours." He took her hand, storming out amid murmurs. Bridges burned. Back home, she bandaged his wounds. "You made it worse. I defended you." He knelt. "Marry me, Emily. We'll go to Colorado, start a farm. I got savings from the rigs. But the age gap. Kids. I don't care. Do you love me?" Tears fell. "Yes." "Then that's it." They packed essentials. Tyler's letters, her old wedding photo, and a locket. Dawn broke as they loaded the truck, leaving keys with Harlan. Townsfolk glared from windows, but Emily felt free. Driving west, fields blurring, Luke squeezed her hand. "Regrets?" "None," she said, smiling. In Colorado, they married quietly, bought a small ranch. Years later, surrounded by new friends who saw only a devoted couple, Emily knew she'd chosen right love over judgment. What do you think? Should society dictate who we love, or is happiness worth a fight? Share your stance in the comments below. Agree, disagree, or tell your own story. Let's discuss.